Now, will you admit this, that it was also you? You have a black and white nature, but you're so black and white that you are recognizing the gray areas, and you're like, okay, there is a gray here, and you still have to bring that gray down to black and white. Would you admit that?
You mean this is the incident with the girls?
Yeah, the "I told you so" incident. You had to do an "I told you so."
Yeah, it's the "I told you so." Yeah, life was lived in a sort of black and white fashion for most of the prefects' life, right? Because I guess that's what we knew. That's what we kind of preferred or whatever.
Yes.
But the situation that you met made you realize that the black and white is not. It's not life.
Yeah.
There are grays, and you have to just accept that there's some grays. And we experienced that with some of these incidents. But to now make the case to the rest of the group that collectively, those of us who are around made the decision that the gray was also okay.
It's okay.
And
like now reporting the case, knowing that they will get suspended potentially or sent home forever.
Yeah, was just not acceptable, and we had to kind of factor that in. And we think that if all the prefects had been around, they would have done exactly what we did. To explain it to them, to say, look, this is what we did, and then they basically said, no, we'll stick to the black and white. I just couldn't deal with that. Like, you're saying you're not trusting me to have made a call that I did on our behalf, even though you want here to see the context.
Context.
So okay, fair enough. You know what? Let's leave the issue, because I'm pretty sure something else will come up that will help make this point better. And thankfully, right, something came up and I rubbed it in like properly.
Yeah. That's the thing. Let me ask you, did you try that in marriage at some point?
So I think this story makes it's not a right to assume that I'm someone who tries to rub it in. I wrote it
not rub it in, but more so
Yeah.
Like a gotcha moment is coming. I'll just chill.
Yeah.
Wait.
In marriage, because even by the time I got married, much older, even my morality, my faith, much better, stronger. So the incident of that happening was very few and far between. Well, whether it's early marriage or late marriage,
right.
There were other issues that maybe that behavior emanated with separately, but not from a sort of let me show you that
vindictive let me show you thing that would never work anyway. And I don't see you as that type of person. I wasn't that type of person too, but there's something like we said, like two things in my opinion would test your faith, and that's entrepreneurship and marriage.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. So if you thought you believe in God, those things will be tested at your core, and your foundation will shake. And if you don't have a solid foundation, you have to build a brand new one altogether. So so that for me, I didn't have that too, but I think for us it was more so. Sorry, I'm being distracted because it's a baby shout. You can hear it, right? Yeah. So for me, the test was larger for me because I'm not that person that would just outrightly tell a woman, go and sit down somewhere. That's not who we're. That's not who my wife is too. I felt like our test was actually a lot bigger because on the surface, we don't have the obvious issues, right? We're best friends, right? You know, this piece of cake, right? But there's a big old but, like a but, two cheeks, right? And the test is going to be larger because there's resentment usually over time, because you're not the type to argue every day like some couple probably does, right? You don't argue every day. It's like she's watching your behavior. She's also trying to soothe your feelings just as much as you're trying to do that. But the resentments are still actively building, right? Yep. And the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be.
The mountain at the end of agree.
Yes. So this was some of the lessons that we had been learning. So if you're a black and white person, you have a blind spot. It's a gray area, and it's not natural to you. You have to bring that gray area down to understanding it from a black and white standpoint too. Which is what I try to tell. There's a lot of young men. 90% of my channel is men, right? Try to tell them like, listen, I know you want to focus on the facts and not the feelings. I get it. Okay, let's try to bring the feelings in because that's a variable. Or you understand what a variable is, right? All right,
Right. Yeah.
great. It's 90% of the variable that's controlling if you're going to be a loser or a winner in this conversation is feelings. Yeah, but that's not reality. It is your reality now. Look at what we're talking about.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here, you know? But that showed up in every... Now, the same thing for people who tends to be in their feeling, emotions a lot, right? By the way, men are also in their emotions. Yes, we get caught up in our feelings. If you're stuck on black and white, that's precisely being in your emotions.
That's true. We need, yeah. Agree.
It's hard. See, because we're so black and white, it's kind of hard to accept in the beginning.
But yeah, but life will show you that it's not. There's also gray in the middle. And as I said in the book, it humbles you when situations kind of unravel because life will force you to accept that there's more to that black and white.
Yep. So yeah, man. Any last words? We have the marriage conversation, the money conversation. I definitely want us to continue at some point. Sometimes just in because I want this book to go far. Because there's so many life lessons and business lessons in the book, and it's what's the line of the let me read it out myself here for the subtitle of the book.
Nigerian boarding school odyssey.
What is it?
A Nigerian boarding school odyssey.
A Nigerian boarding school odyssey, right?
Yeah, it's a journey, right? So I mean, certainly each part of the book has a quote at the start. And the quote is from Homer, who is the guy who wrote the book about Odyssey. Is a classic.
Got you.
It captures every part well. So there's a quote that I've ascribed to every part. So some would refer to things where human beings think that they're running things, right? But actually, they're the ones that are causing their own problems.
Right.
So so the Odyssey and the quotes are linked. And then even there's a lot of subtle messages in the way the book actually came together in the end. You look at this cover with a guy.
Yeah.
So you don't know who this boy is, right?
Yes.
He's clearly more or less African with his afro. Yes. He's wearing a t-shirt to kind of say, I wore the t-shirt, I survived. It's all kind of coded.
Yes. It's beautiful. And I like the green too. It's representing.
There's also that in there.
Yeah. It's not the pure Niger green, but the element is there.
Yeah. And if you look at the surviving Sajomaco font, when it gets to you properly, you see that it's actually worn. So it's seen life.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Some people will say it's Sajomuso, it's not Sajomaco. Or we're sticking with Sajo. You don't have to explain unless you want to.
Yeah, no, I will explain. So,
all right.
You know, there are times when I'm grateful that Sajomaco is an alternative,
right? Because
to me I just prefer it better. It sounds better for a book title than Sajomuso. Muso, it doesn't. You know, sometimes you read a book where the title is some Japanese word, like let's say the art of Itochi or something. I just felt that Sajomaco was it had more of a construct in the way the syllables were together. Two. It was more balanced than.
Yeah, I think for me there's proper contrast between the syllables.
Exactly.
To make them stand out and then roll off the mouth, as opposed to Muso. And then you have to worry about is it double S or not double S. Nah, Sajomaco. It makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.